Internet, it's here. Rogue One is upon us. The Force is with us. Everyone's talking about this movie, specifically how it connects to A New Hope, which was kind of surprising. With me, I have two Star Wars aficionados to really kind of hash this thing out. Dan Casey, thank you for being here.
Thank you so much for having me. I'm thrilled to be here.
And my best friend, who's no longer angry at me.
Still hate you.
Adam Havoc, thank you so much for being here.
Thanks for having me.
Guys, it goes without saying, we are literally going to talk about the end of Rogue One. So, spoiler alert. Dan, walk us through the dying moments.
So at the end of Rogue One, we cut to a parade on Naboo. Everyone's celebrating. No, we get to see moments at the end of Rogue One directly connect to the beginning of A New Hope. You see the Tantive 4, the ship that A New Hope opens on, just managing to barely escape from the Rebel flagship as Darth Vader and his stormtroopers are about to steal the plans back for the Death Star. They just managed to get them off ship in the nick of time, and the ship speeds away carrying, surprise, surprise, Princess Leia Organa.
Da 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 da. Yeah.
I was making a much different face, but before we get into that, let's so obviously we knew this was going to line up with A New Hope. Somehow it is literally about the thing that they used to save the day in A New Hope and getting that thing. But what surprised you about how the films connected? Because I personally didn't think they were going to literally connect.
No, I certainly didn't expect it to connect as neatly and as much as it did.
Yeah, I'm in agreement. I mean, they didn't really throw around the time frame of how it would connect. I would hear things like 10 minutes or so, but it really
they did not move around.
It slides into its DMs basically.
Yeah, I'm curious how much time happens between A New Hope and Rogue One, because it could be weeks, it could be several minutes.
Right.
And see, and this is what I want to talk about. Because depending on if it's several weeks or several minutes, the beginning of A New Hope is now very stupid to me. And we can argue about this. Because how the Rogue One ending worked for me is Vader misses the plans, someone walks the plans to Leia, Vader gets on his ship, he's in hot pursuit, which then, the first scene of A New Hope is now a bunch of rebel troops trolling Darth Vader and being like, oh, we're on a diplomatic mission. We didn't just see you 8 minutes ago.
Nobody in here but us chickens.
which makes the beginning of that movie a little...
Did anyone get the plate number of that Tantive ship?
Exactly.
Was that 3 or 4? I don't know Roman numerals.
This is a consular ship. Where is the ambassador?
How fast and loose are they allowed to play now with the original trilogy?
Well, I think if you look at how the ending of that movie kind of works out, and you have Vader standing there looking over that docking station, and that ship basically being gone by the time he can actually make out exactly which version, because you see all over the Battle of Scarif, we see multiple versions of that ship. So it's not impossible to say that there are other Corellian ships like that, other Corvette ships that are on diplomatic missions that could have an Imperial affiliation. So it could have been the case that, he may have gone through hyperspace multiple times until he finally found the ship that he believes to really have the plans.
If you watch Rogue 1.5 coming out in 2020, you're going to see him seeing all of the other Tantive ships that he has to go through.
So fun. And there's so much more Timon and Pumbaa.
No. Yeah, so I do think that's a good point, because this is not the only ship like that. It's not a unique vessel like the Millennium Falcon or the Slave One. It is part of a class of ships, presumably hundreds of them exist within the Rebel fleet. So, it does seem silly in hindsight, because it's like, did I just see you? You guys look familiar.
I know you from somewhere.
Exactly. So I understand the complaint. And if it does only take place minutes later, then it's deeply silly. But I do think that you're supposed to assume that there's safety in numbers you can blend in. It's kind of like if they were to fly off in an X-Wing. I think that's a better comparison, where there's hundreds of X-Wings, you don't know which one it is.
So I'm fascinated now by because obviously the prequels, the original prequel trilogy can leave a bad taste if you were to watch them in order.
Sure.
Can leave a bad taste in how you now see the original trilogy. Like, Darth Vader was this kid with a rat tail, blah, blah, blah. I'm sorry, comments. I'm sorry, comments for bashing the prequels. Everyone gets very sensitive when we do that. the John Williams score was fantastic.
Johnny never
Everybody
fails.
loves Duel of the
How
Fates.
does
Johnny never
everybody
fails.
loves that Duel of the Fates, and even Across the Stars, he really worked overtime to fix those movies. How does Rogue One now impact A New Hope? Because to me, seeing A New Hope now, this idea of these scrappy rebels that are barely holding it together, that finally they have these secret plans suddenly. Now we see they just won a major battle over a major Imperial center. So how does this change the perception of the story that A New Hope tells?
It makes it, I think it throws it into sharper relief and adds new context to A New Hope. You really get a sense of all the people that sacrificed their lives to get them this information. And it makes it a little more infuriating when all these people died to get the Death Star plans off of the Death Star facility, and then Luke and Han and the gang just bring them right back to the Death Star. So it's
I
interesting.
didn't even
'cause
think about that.
It's just it's like a comedy of errors in a way, but also war is messy. Like you get a sense the rebels, like they got a victory, but they also suffered a lot of losses. I mean, they lost an Imperial flagship. We could have had multiple Akbars, but we lost that poor Mon Calamari admiral who was aboard the flagship. So I don't know. I think it really adds a sense of scale to the events of A New Hope. Not only like A New Hope's already tragic because you lose Alderaan, but this you know all the people that were actually fighting for the Rebel Alliance that died as well.
Yeah, and I think also what the movie does, it shows you that the rebellion wasn't all good. There's so many shades of gray in the rebellion because you look at some of the characters that we had in the movie and the things that they do, the lengths that they go to actually get the job done. I think it just enhances more of what the rebellion kind of is and how desperate they were to defeat the Empire, or at least stop them and put a pause on this weapon.
It also makes the thermal exhaust port seem less like a ridiculous oversight. Because I love Mads Mikkelsen, and he does feel a bit like Dr. Exposition in this movie, but it does add a really cool and poignant context. Like he built in this fatal flaw. They forced him to work against his will. They killed his wife. They sent, as far as he knows, they might have killed his daughter as well. This is his revenge against the Empire. This is like, he can't stand up to them by himself, but he can enable others to do so. And so it makes that moment, which, you watch the end of A New Hope and it's awesome, but at the same time, you're like, really? Like, an architect should have looked at this. An architect did look at that, and he did it on purpose.
Okay, so I guess the final question, the role of a prequel film should be to enhance what's to come. Does Rogue One enhance the original trilogy?
I would say yes. It enhances it by adding more connective tissue and adding some new emotional stakes to what is already a very emotional story. A lot of this had been fleshed out previously by the EU, a lot of which is no longer canon. So this is a way to make people who don't read the books, who don't watch Rebels, who don't really go beyond the movies, to get a richer sense of why they're doing what they're doing in the events of the original trilogy.
And on the opposite end of that, I think it also enhances things like Star Wars Rebels and even things like Clone Wars, because now you kind of see that this is a much bigger universe. There's so many other areas of this universe that we can explore. And Rogue One kind of allows that opportunity to give you a sense of what this entire universe really can be and what it is.
Guys, thank you so much for coming by and chatting Rogue One a little bit with us. Dan, where can people find you in the world of the internet?
Thank you so much for having me, Joe. Folks, you can find me on Nerdist.com and online at OsteoFerocious on Twitter and Instagram, because my real name is taken.
And Adam, I'm so glad that we have overcome our issues as friends.
Oh, we're going to fight it out outside. Don't worry.
Okay, no, sounds good.
Yeah.
You can find Adam on the internet beating the holy hell out of me because he's much larger and can throw a punch.
On World Star.
Internet, what do you think? Did Rogue One ruin A New Hope? Did it make A New Hope even hopier, or did it do nothing? Are you completely neutral? You're the internet, so I have a feeling that that's not the case. Guys, we have Rogue One stuff coming at you like a squad of X-Wing fighters throughout the week, throughout Infinity. Check it out right in this area. Thanks for watching Screen Junkies News.